Hey guys, it's Sean O'Connell, the Managing Director here at CinemaBlend, and if you know me at all, you know that I am a huge Spider-Man fan. Spider-Man is my guy. He's been my favorite character forever, so I am eagerly anticipating the arrival of Spider-Man Far From Home, the second official Spider-Man story in the MCU, and of course, the first movie to continue to pick up the pieces after Avengers Endgame. There's a lot that is going to happen, I assume, in Spider-Man's universe. I was able to go to the set of the movie. I can talk about that later this week. There's going to be some great content on CinemaBlend that we picked up on the set of Far From Home, so be sure to stick around for all of that. But this morning, the second trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home has arrived. I haven't checked it out yet. I figured I would do a reaction video for it. This is what I do now. I watch things and react to it, and I'm really excited to see where we go in Far From Home. I think that the first trailer that they showed for it did a pretty good job of setting up that this is going to be a European adventure for Spidey, taking him out of New York City, and then also establishing that Nick Fury is going to be in this movie and that Mysterio is the new character that's been introduced. And from the looks of the first trailer, they made it pretty clear that he was going to be an ally of Spider-Man, which is very, very different from what we know from the comics. And so we'll see if they continue that plot thread throughout the course of the run-up to Spider-Man Far From Home, which arrives in theaters on July 2nd. So I'm going to press play. Do me a favor, go down, hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and as we post more videos like this here on CinemaBlend's YouTube page, you'll be able to follow along with us.
The Spider-Man Far From Home trailer is about to play, but if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet, stop watching, because there's some serious spoilers about to come up.
Yeah.
But if you have seen Avengers Endgame, enjoy the trailer.
Ooh, fair.
Everywhere I go, I see his
Spider.
face. I just really miss him.
Yeah, I miss him too.
Oh,
I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
Nice.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs.
I'm kidding. Look, keep up the good work, because I am going on vacation.
I like the Iron Spider suit still in action.
Nick Fury's calling you.
I don't really want to talk to Nick
Answer
Fury.
the phone.
Why?
Because if you don't talk to him, then I have to talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. You sent Nick Fury to voicemail?
I gotta go.
You do not ghost Nick Fury.
What up, dorks? What's up? We're just talking about the trip.
I'm here in St. Marco Polo's.
Oh, I think MJ really likes me.
That reminds me when I first fell in love.
How old are they? Are they 5 years older?
You're a very difficult person to contact, Spider-Man.
Ooh, that audio is different.
This is Mr. Beck.
We could have used someone like you on my world.
Your world?
Beck is from Earth, just not ours. The snap tore a hole in our dimension.
What?
You're saying there's a multiverse?
What?
We have a job to do, and you're coming with us.
There's multiverses now?
There's gotta be someone else you can use. What about Thor?
Off-world.
Captain Marvel?
Unavailable.
But I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Ooh, stealth suit.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
What do you want, Peter?
I want to go back on my trip with the girl who I really like and tell her how I feel. MJ, I
am Spider-Man.
No, of course I'm not.
I mean, it's kind of obvious.
You're right, you may not be ready, but this is my responsibility.
Leave that out of the
Saving the
trailer.
world requires sacrifice. Sometimes people die.
Oh, those are Tony's
I feel like I'm
glasses.
putting my friends in danger. The world needs the next Iron Man.
Are you going to step up or not?
Ooh, that's a big theme. The world needs a new Iron Man, huh? That looks awesome.
I gotta get you guys out of here. Get on the jet. Who are you? I work with Spider-Man.
You work for Spider-Man?
I work with Spider-Man, not for Spider-Man. New plan.
Oh, wow. That's a lot to process. This is post-Endgame, for sure. And Peter is mourning the loss of Tony, his mentor. And that's a strong theme throughout the course of this trailer, is the world needs a new Iron Man. We see Iron Man tributes, drawings on the wall, Peter trying to figure out how to move on after Tony has sacrificed himself for everybody, and still wanting a vacation, wanting to sort of disappear and get off the grid as his friends, his classmates move on. Now let's discuss the age of everybody, because this is a problem that I've had with the Endgame resolution, is that we saw Peter and Ned together at the end of Endgame, and the Russos, I believe, have confirmed on record that Ned also dusted in the snap. But does that has to mean that if all of his other classmates, all of Peter's other classmates, whether it be MJ or Flash, did they all dust conveniently so that they can all still be the same age? We wrote about this on CinemaBlend. There's a column we wrote that it's important, I think, for Far From Home to have at least one, maybe two characters that are 5 years older, that didn't dust and lived the 5 years that are explained in Endgame. They're just older when the movie starts, because if they all dusted, that's pretty convenient. So we'll see how that happens. Peter is still using the Iron Spider suit at the start of the film, and he's stopping crime as he does. Then he's back into the Stark suit, traditionally called the Stark suit because I think that's how they labeled it in the PlayStation 4 video game, which if you guys have not played, is phenomenal. And then Peter goes off on his European vacation with his classmates, and we see him in Venice, and we see these elementals start to form. They are going to be representations of sort of classic B-level Spider-Man villains. The water one from Venice is clearly supposed to be a Hydro Man reference. It looks like that the sand dirt elemental that Nick Fury and Maria Hill are shooting at is going to be the MCU's version of Sandman. These are villains that we're not going to see. There's Molten Man in, I believe that's going to be Austria. Is that Vienna? I forget where they said that was going to be taking place. These are villains who are, part of the comic book lore, but not necessarily big enough to ever carry their own role in a Spider-Man movie. Like even when Sam Raimi used Sandman, he had to sort of mix in Venom and Harry's Green Goblin as a result of sort of beefing up the villains. Now that became too many villains, and the focus of this one's going to be Mysterio. All right, so the trailer also introduces the concept of the multiverse. And let's talk about this from a grand perspective. They say that in his world, and then Spider-Man's like, what do you mean his world? And Sam Jackson says, he's from another Earth, not our Earth. He's from a multiverse. So you guys all understand the concept of the multiverses. It was actually discussed in Endgame too. It's a parallel path that runs along our timeline, where essentially a mirror likeness of our world exists with slight changes. And the best example of this was on the CW's version of Flash. Flash uses multiverse all the time, and there's Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth, infinity, and multiple Flashes keep arriving in different timelines, and they have slight tweaks about them. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse played with this also, too, the animated version of this, where there were different versions of Spider-Man who all came to Miles Morales' world and helped him fight the Kingpin, thanks to the doodle that opened up the universe. I forget what they called it in the thing. The Collider. That's what they did. They called it the Collider. Right away, a debate sort of formed of like, do you believe Mysterio? Is Mysterio really from a multiverse, or is he making this up? Because if anyone who reads the comics understands this, Mysterio deals in misdirection. He creates illusions. He was a special effects wizard and a magician in the comics. He seems to be creating illusions in this trailer also, and probably shouldn't be trusted. So the idea could be, is he lying about the multiverse? Now, personally, and this goes off of nothing that I know at all about this, I believe that he's telling the truth with the multiverse. And maybe I'll be proven wrong in July when the movie rolls around. But I believe that, personally, I think Marvel wants to introduce the multiverse. I think there was too much talk about it in Endgame, with the Ancient One laying out what the multiverse could potentially mean for the bigger picture at large. And if they're going to use Far From Home as a way to sort of move the idea of the multiverse forward, this is the right movie to do it in. And it then creates a lot of different places where the MCU can go. Like perhaps the multiverse is the way that they bring the Fantastic Four into the MCU. Maybe in a multiverse, the mutants are the superheroes and they are accepted, and then they make a leap over to our Earth and are instantly rejected. Like, there's a million ways you can go by the time you introduce a multiverse. Maybe even in Far From Home or in another Spider-Man universe down the line, Miles Morales shows up, and he's been Spider-Man in his world forever, and he and Peter Parker have to figure out a way to work together in a live-action setting in much the same way that they did in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So there's a lot of ways you can go with the multiverse, and I don't think that Marvel would bring that up to have it be misdirection from Mysterio. So that I'm going to go on record as saying that. At the same time, I don't believe that Mysterio is a good guy. I think ultimately by the time we get to the end of this movie, it'll be determined that he is the bad guy. But that's my theory. I'm going to put it out there. I love that they bring Happy Hogan over and that he's being a bridge between the Tony Stark side of that universe and Spider-Man. Tony was such a good mentor in Homecoming, and it was a great way to use that character. So bringing Happy over is a really great way to do it. I like the interaction between the classmates. Zendaya knowing Peter's secret, that's a reveal I wish they left out of the trailer. And it also just means that Peter is horrible at keeping his secret identity. His aunt figured it out at the end of Homecoming. Seems like his girlfriend is going to figure it out in this one. Great trailer. This trailer is completely different from the one that we got earlier because it's post-Endgame and they can give away a lot more connective thread between Far From Home and Endgame. It feels completely like an MCU movie. I know the Sony is behind it and Spider-Man's still a Sony character on loan to the MCU, but the threads between what's going on in Endgame and what's continuing in Far From Home are incredible, and it has me super excited for where things are going to go into the next phase of the MCU. I don't really quite understand how this is the movie that Kevin Feige is saying is going to conclude this current phase. It more feels to me like Endgame was the end of the phase and Far From Home is the beginning of the next chapter of what's going to be told in the MCU. Feige says this is the end, says Far From Home is the end, and that whatever comes after this will come after this. But if you are, moving on with Spider-Man and potentially introducing the ideas of the multiverse, then that feels like the start of something to me. So maybe personally, I'll just choose to look at it that way. You guys tell me what you think of the trailer, though. I want to know what you learned. I want to know what Easter eggs you might have spotted. Do you like the idea of the multiverse? What are your thoughts on Mysterio? We got the fishbowl. He looked great with his fishbowl and his suit. He looks comic ready. I mean, he looks that's Mysterio lifted off the page of Spider-Man's world. I still love Tom Holland in it. I love seeing him using the Iron Spider suit, but I think it's ready to move on to a new Spider-Man suit that's a little more Peter Parker-ish. That might be the stealth suit that he uses while he's fighting in Europe. And then I can't wait to see the new suit that he creates in the back half of the movie, see that thing in action, because we've seen some of it as he's been flying into action in London. So anyway, Spider-Man Far From Home is coming to theaters on July 2nd. We're going to have plenty more coverage about this movie in the run-up to the film's release. Again, later on this week, I'll be able to run some reports from our set visit to Spider-Man Far From Home. I was lucky enough to go and visit the set to learn some amazing things that they were able to tell us about the movie, and a lot of things that they avoided because we hadn't yet seen Endgame when we went. So be sure to stick around on CinemaBlend and make sure you go down and turn on your notifications after you subscribe so that you can keep track with everything that we're doing here at CinemaBlend's YouTube page.
Peter Parker here to pick up a passport, please.
Mini toothpaste? Pack your suit.
I just want to go on my trip with my friends. Europe doesn't really need a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.